To look at the powerful event viewer, I'm going to go to Tools, and Event Viewer is always in the list. And I'm going to full screen that. Under my Windows logs, we get the 3 logs that have long existed, which were application. Any application-related events would be recorded there. The system, any system-related events. Like if there's an issue with, say, Windows, at its core, a true OS-related issue would have been recorded under the system log. Now, there is some overlap. Things like Microsoft Edge or Internet Explorer, they are applications, but they're also part of the operating system. So many things like that tend to leave events in both of those logs. Then, very different, the security log is just the audit log. So if you're auditing logons or anything like that, you would find that in the security log. Now, these 3 logs have been in all computers since Windows 2000, a client and server. So app, security, system. Now, they have always left a lot to be desired. The improvements here, and there are many. I'm going to collapse the Windows logs, and I'm going to expand applications and services logs. Now, the machine I'm on now is my DC1, so it's a domain controller. I have a log for Active Directory Web Services. That's just some web components related to Active Directory. DFS replication has its own event log. Active Directory has its own event log, this directory service log. DNS, hardware, Internet Explorer, even Windows PowerShell has its own event log. Now, the PowerShell event log, it is not going to help you troubleshooting your scripts or anything like that, not based on syntax error. But if the PowerShell engine itself failed to load, it would be those types of events. So it's not going to help you with typos or anything like that that you may have messed up yourself. It's really logging application-related events to PowerShell itself. But where this gets just to be incredible, if I expand Microsoft, Windows, every Windows component has its own event log. Hundreds of event logs are now in this list. Well, if we scroll down a bit, there is a log just for backup. If you use Bluetooth, there are several logs related to that. There are logs related to certificate services. If we keep going, we have logs for DFS, logs for DHCP, for your disks. If we keep going, group policy is in this list. If I select the group policy, I can see right now I have 1,740 events. Well, to see something pretty neat, I'm actually going to clear this log for group policy. So it wipes all of those out. While we have this open, I'm just going to go to run and I'm going to type GP update. Actually, it's already in my run box here. But if you just put in GP update and OK, notice it says new events available. So if I actually refresh that view, type in GP update generated 64 new events. Now, if you were on your Windows 10 client, you could open Event Viewer and it's going to have this exact group policy log on your client machine. And it's so powerful, I'll probably never find anything exciting here. But if I'm going to slide this up a bit. I can see list of applicable group policy objects. So I can see the VPN policy I created earlier. That was the name of my GPO. I can see that it actually applied. So from your client machine's point of view, you can see the name of every GPO that applied, if it applied successfully or not. So this goes hand in hand with typing GP update just to see if there are any errors when group policy gets processed. So very user-friendly. But if we keep scrolling down this list on the left, I don't believe I have ever broken Microsoft Paint, nor have I had a user ever come to me and say, Kevin, I broke my Microsoft Paint. But there is an event log for Microsoft Paint that actually shows up. So this is incredibly detailed. Basically, every component in the operating system that can generate an event has an event log that shows up here. So it's really a filtered view is basically what it is. If we keep going, you'll see they have logs for remote desktop. and we can keep going and keep going. They have this for TCP/IP, so related to IP addresses. We looked at storage spaces, and we created our storage pools in an earlier course. Several logs related to that show up. We have logs for VPN clients. Even WordPad has its own event log, so just incredibly powerful in that filtered view. But it gets a lot better than that. Now I'm just going to scroll to the top here, and I'm going to collapse that Microsoft Windows. Well, two more things we care about. One is subscriptions. If I go to this subscriptions here and just click on it, the very first time you ever click on it, it's going to tell you this Windows Event Collector service has to be running, and it's not running now. Do you want to start it? I'm going to say yes, because I do want it started. So it starts that service and sets the startup type to automatic, so it'll always be running. But what's neat here, I can right-click, create a subscription. I'm going to name this RTS SVR1 logs. Now here it says select computers. I can browse Active Directory. I'm just going to check names, and RTS Serve 1 will be in that list. I'm going to choose Serve 1 and OK and OK. Now it says, what events do you want from that remote computer RTS Serve 1? Well, I can go to select events, and I can go through every event log. So I could pick application, security, system, or you could go through the component level logs we saw. So we saw directory service and all those. You could even expand Microsoft Windows, and you could choose any component level log. So pretty powerful overall. So you simply pick whatever log you want. I'll just click something in the list. You could pick a specific event source if you wanted. So if I only want events related to Active Directory web services or something like that, you could pick a source, or just leave it blank and it'll be all sources. You could pick a specific event ID. So if you know you only want to see this one type of event and you know the event ID number, and every event has an ID number listed in it. So that's where you could get the number from. I could even specify the username and computer name. Well, user and or computer name if you want to filter just those. So what happens now, you create this subscription. This reaches out to RTS Serve 1 and say, anytime you write an event to your application log, if it's this event ID, if it's this user, if it's this computer, based on whatever you filled in here, it says, forward me a copy of that event. So if you filled all of that in, then all that would happen, I see the subscription show up here. The next time RTS Serve 1 writes an event that matches that criteria, it's going to show up here under your forwarded events. So now, locally on DC1, I get events sent to me and centrally stored from other machines on the network. Now, that's not new. We could have done that all the way back in Server 2008, but can be very useful. Eliminates the need of trying to remotely connect to all these different machines and look at logs. The last thing we want to mention here, I'm going to click on my system log. And if I found some event, well, let's say this warning. Now, we don't care what this warning actually is, but let's say it's important. We'll pretend it's important. So important that you know you need to restart some services on your server if this were to actually happen. If that's true, I could take this event. Now, right now, I am in the system log. This source is LSA. The event ID is 6038. I can either go down here and click this attach a task to this event, or you can just right click the event and there's attach a task. If I choose that, you'll see it has a log name, source, event ID. And if we click next, it's going to have that same information. So the log, source, event ID is already populated because I clicked on the event. Now, if you did not click on the event, maybe you already cleared, you could just create one of these and you could just specify all of this as long as you know the log source event ID. You just specify it. But I'm going to choose next. Now, the only one of these that is actually valid now is the ability to start a program. So this start a program, what I can do is just go to next, and I could actually browse for a script. So if you have a PowerShell script or a VBS script or batch file, something like that, then it would actually run that script. So maybe you create a simple batch file that says net stop service, net start service. So that would ultimately restart a service for you. You specify a script that actually says that. What happens, this is the trigger. So anytime this event is recorded, that log source event ID, it just executes that script. So in some ways, it could be like self-healing. Now, if we go back to that again, I said that that is the only option that was valid under action, the start a program. Send an email and display a message do not work. If you were to click either one, and I'm just going to type in something. When you try to finish this, if we go next, and I try to finish, does not work. Error has occurred. Following error was reported. Task definition uses a deprecated feature. This has not worked since Server 2012. Server 2012 R2, 2016, and 2019, they do not support sending, if we go backwards again, sending an email or displaying a message locally, they don't support that. What they've done is integrate that feature into some of their System Center products. So basically, they took a feature that was natively built in at no additional cost, and they rolled it into other paid-for products that require licensing. So don't get too excited thinking this will send you an email. It won't do that. Just start a program. So Event Viewer is far more powerful than it has ever been in the past. So extremely useful that is.